in the dean's office as the assistant dean of students. And then most recently, I moved over to the director of student activities. I've been doing this for about 6 years, I think. And in addition to that, I teach AP government for seniors. And I'm the head basketball coach at Jesuit High School. So like most employees at Jesuit High School, we wear 5 or 6 different hats and get involved in the school in a variety of ways. So yeah, that's what I do.
Man of many hats. And you'll find that at Jesuit. There's a lot of teachers and alumni and folks that are here that wear many hats and have been a part of the Jesuit community for a long time. And it's understanding and knowing everything. So Tim, and feel free to ask any questions. If you have any questions for Tim about student activities and getting involved in anything, more than happy to answer those as we go to steer the conversation, but I'll kick it off. So in the current position that you're in student activities, getting involved, I think I say more often than not that getting involved at Jesuit and what you put into Jesuit, you get out in return. So when it comes to leadership and maybe some of our club opportunities on campus, what are some of the club opportunities that we have? Like how many? I know we have too many to list. And then what are the opportunities for maybe a freshman coming in a leadership role, and what it looks like when you move along and you get into the executive role?
Sure. So there's a couple different facets to student activities into my department. One is student government, right? And so we have class level student council officers for each class level. And then we have what we call our executive council, which is the seniors that oversee all of student government. And so for an incoming freshman, the biggest opportunity in student government is obviously the class level student council officer, where we have 5 officers every year that are elected by their peers. We always run the elections right at the beginning of freshman year. And so that's a great opportunity for leadership and to get involved in student government. As our students progress through their journey at Jesuit High School and they become older, those leadership opportunities within student government become bigger and kind of grander with the things that they're responsible for. And it culminates in with the executive council with the experience of being elected by the entire student body and really being in charge of all the special events that happen on campus and entertaining the rest of the students through some fun activities. And so that's the student government path. The other path in student activities is with our clubs, our student clubs. This year we have, I think it's close to 60 clubs on our campus that are all student driven, right? These are all clubs that current students have started or that have been passed down to them from former students in previous years. And there are leadership opportunities within each of those clubs. So each club has a club president. Some have a vice president. It kind of depends on how the club is structured. But all student driven, all student led. There are faculty members involved, but they're there just to help. This really is a student-led experience. And so I don't know if we can do this in the chat, but if you would want to see a list of all of our clubs, they are on the school website. So I don't know if we can add a link to the chat there, Matt, or not. But if you go to the student website under student life.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to send out and send out all the clubs. And I know in the drive-through yesterday, I tried to make it abundantly clear in that roundabout area how many clubs we actually have. And I think that it really is, it's sharing your interests. I mean, the ability to start a new club just requires you to, Tim, can you speak a little bit to starting a new club? Like what the process is there?
Yeah, let me back up what I probably should have said about the clubs. And like I said, if you visit our website under Student Life, there's a clubs link that lists all 60 clubs with a brief description. Most of the clubs on there have kind of a 1 to 2 sentence description of what they are. Some of the clubs are just kind of fun clubs, right? A fantasy sports club. There's a couple video game clubs. They're just kind of special interest. There's a writing club. There's a filmmaking club. Some of the clubs are more academic in nature. We have mock trial, speech and debate. There's a mathletes club, and those are more academic teams that go to competitions. There are what we call heritage clubs. So there's like our Black Student Union, our BSU, our Asian Pacific Islander Club. So those clubs are all in there. So there's a variety of types of student clubs. So it's a pretty big conversation to describe what our clubs are on campus. But I think the website does a pretty good job of giving you an overview.
Totally.
In terms of,
yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just going to talk about starting a new club. We do every year. We have students want to start a new club. Like I said, they're all student driven and student led. So if we have a student that has a particular interest and wants to start a club and wants to gather some of his friends or make new friends or whatever it might be, it's a really simple process. There's a little form, a registration form that they register with me. We make sure some of the details are covered in terms of having a faculty supervisor and things like that, and that the club's obviously appropriate for Jesuit High School, and then they're off and running. So we do allow, it's a little different than some other schools, but we do allow freshmen to have leadership positions in clubs in case a freshman wants to start a club that he's interested in, and recruit other freshmen or even upperclassmen, and that freshman could be the leader of his own club.
Awesome. A lot of opportunities to explore your passions. And I always find that sharing those liked interests and finding those fellow students that are interested in the same thing, whether there's an opportunity there to get involved or to start something new, it's a great opportunity to start building those relationships and the brotherhood there. This kind of lends us into, we have two questions here. One here that's, do you have any engineering activities for students? And I feel like that's a great question, and it's an extension of you hear the word STEM or STEAM in our case, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, and how we implement engineering aspects to our maths and sciences, but our club opportunities, which are aplenty, are a great extension of engineering. So if you like to get your hands dirty, and whether it's building things, everything from our robotics teams, our autonomous vehicle teams, our 3D printing club, Science Olympiad. Tim, can you speak to some of the science-oriented clubs that we have on campus for students and their opportunities?
And you just named a few, and we're going to test how well I've memorized all 60 clubs on campus here. I would say our most well-known, I don't know, STEAM or STEM, whatever we're calling it, science-based club, engineering-based club, is our robotics. Cheryl Kiyama, who's the head coach of that, along with Jay Isaacs and a bunch of other parent volunteers, spend a ton of time with the kids. And our robotics program is just top notch. They've won national competitions. They're right in the mix for winning these national competitions every year. They just do a really great job on campus with our robotics team. And that's a very competitive club. But we do have some other clubs that are easier to access, might be a way to say it. We've got a Science Olympiad team, and that's a competitive team. They go to events and compete against other schools' Science Olympiad teams. We used to have an engineering club, but I think the group of students that were kind of leading the charge on that club graduated. And so, but that's, like I said, that's always a possibility that could start again if we get a group of students that is interested in that. The other science-based clubs, our autonomous race car club has obviously an engineering component to it. Not quite as much engineering, I don't think, but we've got our cybersecurity club with Mr. Sy and Mr. Strawn. They do a great job of learning about cybersecurity and software development. And they go to some competitions also, and they've actually won a couple of awards in the last couple of years. So that group does a great job also. And I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but again, I would encourage you to check out the website. They're going to be under both special interest and some of our academic clubs are going to be kind of those engineering based clubs.
Totally. Something.
One more thing.
Oh, go for it, Chris.
Yeah, and one more thing I wanted to add is we also have a number of alumni that work in the engineering field that all would be happy to speak with students who are interested in pursuing that long term as well. And that's something that I feel strongly about, is having our strong alumni base available to talk to the students.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great point, is that and that's one of our goals and our missions, to even strengthen even more. We have 10,000 plus alumni, a lot of them locally. We've learned Zoom very well. And so connecting our students and having opportunities to speak with alumni who love to be engaged and love to speak to the next generation, to talk about what it takes, what their college path was, and then how they got into the fields that they do. I know that a couple students 2 years ago started a PreMed Club where they wanted to engage with folks and alumni that are in the field, just to discuss, what that path is forward, and maybe some hints and tricks to get through college and to pursue a career in there. So really finding your passion, getting involved, and whether something doesn't exist and you want to build that, is a great opportunity. I want to jump to this next question. Here it says, I have a junior at Jesuit. Shoot.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to jump in on your pre-med club. That club is still up and running, very active. And we did just have, I believe he's an alum, but we had a cardiologist come and visit with the club and be a guest speaker via Zoom. It was really cool. So.
Awesome. That's and I think of the Entrepreneur Club too, that's very active, where we have business leaders come in. Kelly Brothers spoke to the club last year just to talk about those students that want to be engaged in entrepreneurship and pursuing, being a part of business. I have a question here from Jack and Jill. I love that. Cornack, thank you. I have a junior at Jesuit and hasn't really gotten involved, which is disappointing. I'd love to talk to your son and see how, come into our office and see how we can get him more involved. How do I make sure my freshman son next year, gets involved? Tim, can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would say for your junior son, it's not too late. Right. You can always join a club at any year level and at any point throughout the year, right? I think, these clubs are here for the students. And so some of the teams, some of the competitive teams, say robotics, those are hard to join midstream. But in a lot of these clubs, that can be joined at any time. How do we get kids involved? Well, we kind of beat them over the head with the message from their very first day at school through their graduation of get involved, get involved, get involved. Chris Fahey, who was a longtime employee and a former student activities director, he used to give a talk to the kids, and it always stood out to me, that says, if you show up at 8 o'clock and you leave at 3 o'clock, you're not taking advantage of everything that Jesuit has to offer. That there really are. Our academics are top notch, and it's enough to keep you busy. But if that's all that you're doing, you're wasting such a great opportunity of all of these opportunities that are out there for you, whether it's clubs or athletics or academics. And I tell students all the time, don't limit yourself. If you think you're a baseball player, and so you have to dedicate all your time to baseball, that's great. And I hope that you do have a great baseball experience. But I've seen some very successful students come through that are great athletes. And they're involved in multiple clubs, and they're in leadership opportunities in multiple clubs, and they're in student government, and they're in the choir, right? And they're in campus ministry. Like there is room to do it all, and it takes a lot of time management skills, which is one of the great lessons you're going to learn through your path through Jesuit, right? Of how to manage your time and balance everything in your life. But you absolutely can do it all. And so how do I get my freshman son involved? the kind of nuts and bolts of it is every year we have a club sign up day. We did it virtually this year, so we hosted Zoom informational meetings with all the clubs. There was a Google form that went out, and all you did was select clubs that you might be interested in, and then any student who was interested in those clubs, their email address went to the club leaders, and the club leaders contacted those students individually and invited them to a meeting, or maybe their Google Classroom page, to get involved in that.
Awesome. And I would say too to that, for those, I was a little bit of my background. When I came to Jesuit, I graduated in 2005. I came over the Causeway from Davis. It was me and a couple of other young men coming over in a carpool, but I didn't have this built-in friend group that's coming in, and a lot of students don't. We have students coming from many zip codes and schools all over the area. And so when you come here, there's a lot of students looking to make those new friends. So if you're coming from a school just by yourself, one or two students coming from a particular school, when you get onto the Jesuit campus as a freshman and you go through the retreat opportunities, which is a great segue to campus ministry and the opportunities in retreats, you start to develop these friendships and these relationships, and really just putting your best foot forward, stepping out. And if you're interested in something, whether it's ski and snowboard club, to just go and try as many, to start to find those opportunities where you can connect with other students is a great opportunity to learn, to meet some new guys. I know my freshman year was really the freshman overnight, and those first classes and just going like, hey, who are you? Where are you from? Great opportunities to get involved. So the next question I have here is it difficult for freshmen to participate on the robotics team? That is a great question. The robotics team is competitive, but Tim, can you speak to that process for freshmen and that opportunity?
Yeah, so like I said, our robotics team is a competitive team. Unfortunately, because of the competitive nature of the team, it's one of the few clubs that we have that you do have to apply for and be accepted onto that team. And so there's an application process. It's kind of like applying for a job. There's a written application, and there's an interview. There's a kind of a second round of interviews that take place. And so, is it difficult for freshmen? Yes and no. It is a competitive. There's a limited number of spots on that team. But there's always room for that next batch of students coming through, right? Every year we're graduating seniors, and the junior class is stepping into that senior leadership. And I know that Coach Kiyama is always trying to backfill that team with freshmen so that they can learn from the older guys, and that in 3 or 4 years, they will be the leaders of that team. So there are freshmen on the team, and they're always looking to kind of fill that so that the students are learning from each other, teaching and learning from each other.
Awesome. And I think that's a great opportunity for our robotics team. They build an ROV, an underwater robot. It's truly exceptional. And everything from the nuts and bolts in building the robot to programming the robot to developing the design and program that goes along with it. I'm just impressed by those boys every time they do things. But that's a great opportunity for other clubs and opportunities to create robotics programs. We're always looking to expand our STEAM opportunities on campus. I have a question here from Jack S. and Evan Baptista, and it's about our math tutors available and what classes discuss finance and investing. And so I'll take those ones on. And yes, there's math tutors available. And I believe we have a club for finance and investing that some of our students do. But academic questions, the 5 sessions that we have today, you'll notice that one of them is not academics. Our assistant principal of academics is on paternity leave this week. And I want to give him an opportunity to address our audience. So we will be conducting info sessions, more in-depth info sessions that I'll be sending out through email, everything weekly going through the admission season. That those are great questions to ask some of the faculty members and our assistant principal, Colin O'Connor, during that session. So all academic questions, there'll be a great opportunity to sit and ask about, our math programming and the opportunities and the classes that our students will have. Again, Casey, I have, what programs do you have to help support students that are struggling academically? Also, I am going to have an info session with our with Carol Rose, who runs our academic support center, and also Mandy Smith, who is our head of counseling. Lot of support here on this campus. I'd say that it's one of the strengths of Jesuit, and whether it's through our academic support center that Carol Rose leads, our tutoring programs, and our counselors. Our 7 counselors on staff are fully accredited and are great just for to make sure our students are happy and healthy and well prepared. So it's not only they care for every student, and their open door policy and our ratio of counselor to student is fantastic, so that there is this great opportunity to connect with your counselor. But there's a lot of great support in there. I would tell any student coming in to connect with their teachers. Our teachers love to teach, so a lot of opportunities there. I will have an info session with those folks as well that I'll be sending out, so stay tuned for those and the programming that we have for those opportunities. I'll be sure to make sure you guys are connected. Again, we have another one, requirements to be accepted to Jesuit. That's a great question for me. I'd love to, I will be discussing the different touch points for the Jesuit admissions process in an info session. We have engineering classes and programs, which I believe we discussed. What kind of coding classes do you offer, and what coding language do you teach? That is another great academic question. We do have a computer science program that I will be discussing in our academics session. I love that. Carol is great. And yes, a lot of support. I take this opportunity, as we have Tim here, for just a bit more. Spirit Week. Spirit Week's a fun time on campus. Student run by the Executive Council. What is Spirit Week all about? What are some of the fun opportunities through that week?
Sure. We normally, unfortunately, it would have just passed, right? That we weren't able to do our normal Spirit Week, but in a normal world, which I fully admit we're not in right now, but in a normal world, our Spirit Week, we have kind of dress theme days. Let the guys get out of their regular school dress code and have some fun for a week. Executive Council sets a theme for each day. And then there's also fun activities that happen each day at lunch. I know if there's any alums on here listening, that we're still doing some of the things that you probably did when you were at school. The highlights every week or every year, we always host a belly flop contest at lunch. The whole school kind of crowds into the pool, and we've got some brave souls that choose to participate in the belly flop contest, and we have teachers that judge it, and that's always a really fun time, and one of those kind of traditional, just kind of goofy things that happens at Jesuit. But again, if you're an alum, you probably remember watching the belly flop contest, or maybe you participated in it yourself. We also, we for a number of years, at least a decade, they play a game at lunch called Powerball, which is kind of a competitive game that happens in the sophomore junior quad, and classes compete against each other at lunch. So there's just some fun activities at lunch that I think are fun because they've been happening for a really long time. There's kind of this tradition to it, and so those are the Spirit Week activities. It culminates, and we always try to coordinate it with our homecoming week. So it ends with our homecoming dance, which is one of our formal dances that we have at Jesuit High School, where students that go to any school they want, or our students can invite a guest to come with them. It could be a public school, private school, It doesn't matter, but that's one of our formal dances that we have that always ends at the end of Spirit Week.
Great stuff. A lot of questions coming in, and they're not student activities specific, but I'd love to address some. I have one here while we have folks on here. Since school is opening up, will school tours and or shadow days be happening? Unfortunately, we won't be able to do shadow days this year, but I am doing student-focused info sessions on Zoom where myself and Chris will be presenting some stuff. We'll have some of our current students, the ability to speak with some students and take some of the best elements of a shadow day. Unfortunately, with the transition back to school and the scheduling and the logistics of it, we won't be able to do shadow days, but I am more than happy to do some school tours. And if you reach out to me and you would like a school tour with just single family to walk around campus and see some of the wonderful campus that we have, I'd be more than happy to do that. Again, I have some great questions about engineering classes. We do have a photography program, and our VPA session is at 2 p.m. today. That's a great question to tune back in for my team coming in there. And the philosophy on homework and students able to balance academics and activities. That is a great question for my academics session that I have scheduled. If you go to our website and look up info sessions, I will be holding an academic session with our assistant principal of academics and some of our teachers. Those are great questions to ask those folks, as well as our counseling and support department. These are all great questions. Yeah, shoot.
Can I chime in? Because I do see there was another question on there about balancing the demands of academics and student life. And then the one that just popped up about the homework versus activities and all these things. You know, I'll say this. All the people that work at Jesuit High School, whether teachers, coaches, the club moderators, all believe in this mission of the school, that this experience is about more than just the academics, right? And I think because of that, teachers and coaches, and they encourage students to do multiple things and try to run their programs or classes or clubs that are going to keep the guys busy. I don't want to understate that. But also with the understanding that it's not the only thing that our students are involved in, that we expect our students to be involved in multiple things, and that we structure our programs to allow for that.
That's absolutely true. I and speaking as an alumni and Chris Marshall down there also in the class of 03 and 05 is, it was, the academics were amazing, and the connections to my teachers. I have just such great relationships with the teachers and getting involved and getting the support that I need. But playing on the soccer team, starting the roller hockey club, and getting a group of guys to go out and play roller hockey on the weekends was a memory I will never forget. And then also being in student leadership, it was just an extension of meeting guys in different groups and getting involved across all activities. But this common thread through everything, this men for others spirit and the brotherhood that carries through everything, and the mission of Jesuit is very important to every aspect. So it's about, playing hard and praying hard and all those fun things, and getting involved is a super important part of Jesuit beyond the academics. We have great support there, but we want our guys to be, we talk about teaching the whole person, and that takes into account all the wonderful things that you can do at Jesuit. So getting involved and getting out there is just, the many opportunities is great. So those are great questions there. I have how many students are in each grade level. I can answer that one really quick, Dylan. It's about 275 on average. We have a little over 1,100 students on our campus any given year. But all of that fun stuff about applying and all the application process, I'll be sure to cover that in an info session. But if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out. We're button up to 11:35. I want to thank Tim for being here today and talking a little bit about student activities. Our next session This one Zoom link will get you into every session. So if you want to grab something to drink or go to the bathroom in 30 minutes, in about 30 minutes, we'll be meeting with Paula Buff and Sarah Brabeck, who are the directors of our campus ministry and our service and justice and theology departments. So a great opportunity to talk about a unique, the unique approach at Jesuit and the offering that we have. I think it's going to be a great conversation talking about campus ministry and our service and justice, our retreat programs throughout there. Tim, as we close this session and we get ready for the next one, do you have anything left for the 57 families that are hanging out with us today?
No, just thank you guys for showing up to this and logging in this morning. Jesuit really is a great place. I could tell by some of the questions, some of you guys already have some experience with it. But if you're new to it, it really is a unique experience. I love it. I've been there for 17 years. And I think for my money, it's the best experience that a young man can have in the Sacramento area. So thanks for having me this morning.
Great stuff. Thanks for coming in, Tim. And we look forward to seeing everybody for our next session that will be at 12 p.m. Thanks a lot for being here, and we'll see you again in a bit.